Hi there, this is Justin Krane, certified financial planner professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
Hey everyone, welcome to Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner practitioner. We offer investment management services and financial planning for entrepreneurs. I'm also the author of this book, Money You Got This. It's a good one. You should get it. Oh, my guest has it too. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. Today's guest is Rich Walker. Before I even go through with the whole bio, this dude is awesome. The guy stands 31 hours a day. He does not leave his desk, and he has built a super, super cool business. He runs Quick, aka Quick Forms. That's the short intro. Rich, welcome to the show.
Justin, thank you so much, man. I'm excited to be here. And if I had 31 hours in the day, I think I'd make a lot more money, right?
There you go. Okay, so everyone listening, now, Rich markets a lot to financial advisors and financial advisor firms, but there's so many things that he has done across his career that you can learn from. So let me just tell you about him. What is Quick? So they're an industry leader in processing forms and filling out forms. Back in 1802, when you used to like handwrite forms and you were to like upload all the stuff and then send it to someone via like the Wells Fargo Stagecoach, that was how business got done. But he's like, oh my God, I got to figure something out. There's got to be a way that we could have people stop writing all of it down and like put it into some document and then move it over to a form. He did it through Excel at the beginning, and we're going to get to that. So anyways, this is the company. It's Quick Forms. They make things much easier for businesses and custodians and brokerage firms and all those people, banks, to basically transport, fill out data, use it. He's built a great company. And I think he started like 71 companies before he was age 4. The guy's unreal. He has his own podcast, The Customer Wins. He's written 4 million books. He's got 91 kids. He wrote 2 books. He's got 3 boys. And in all honesty, he empowers people to do their best financial work. So prior to starting Quick, he actually was a financial advisor. We're going to get into that. He worked at Arthur Andersen as well. And one of the cool things about Quick, and maybe we'll start with this because I heard it a lot, Rich, is how many trees have you saved, right? By going from digital scanning and not having to do with paper to actually seamless, transition.
We counted as 90,000 trees. Now, the truth is we've planted 63,000. We're going to be planting another 10 to 15,000 this year. But if you just look at calculating it, we've calculated saving 90,000. So I don't know what you want to say. Is it 90 plus 60 or just 60 or just 90? I don't know, but it's a bunch of trees. It's a forest.
The whole shebang. The whole shebang.
I really should count that up in pounds of paper, and I haven't done that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to start with the end, and then we'll go back to the beginning. I love SaaS businesses. I think they're awesome. I've got clients in that space. I just think the business model is awesome. Obviously, there are challenges, but can you just talk about where you are now, what you've built, and what the benefits are in running a SaaS business?
So I'll start with one of the core benefits. Over 98% of our revenue is contractually recurring. To me, that's amazing because if I make 0 sales and lose 0 customers, my revenue keeps going. In fact, it keeps growing because my customers keep growing and adopting more of the platform. To me, the software is one of the most ultimate business models out there. And I love business models. That's actually what I really love about business is the model.
I love business models, Rich. We should just talk about business models the whole show.
We can. I mean,
Anyway,
imagine
yeah.
taking what's
Oh,
in your head, pouring it into a computer keyboard, and now you've got a product you can distribute infinite times with
yeah,
zero distribution costs practically.
yeah,
I also love partners because if I have a partner who implements my product and they sell it and they service it, what's my cost? My cost is
yeah,
minuscule. So, you can look at the big guys. I think it was Facebook has an 87% profit margin. And on the tech side of Amazon, it's like a 95% profit
yeah,
margin. That
yeah,
is the benefit of SaaS and from a perspective of
yeah,
owning the business. But let me tell you a different benefit as being a customer. Here's why you should pay for software over time. If you don't like it, stop using it, stop paying for it. If you do like it and you keep paying for it, you're empowering that company to keep being aligned with your goals and therefore keep investing and building better and better solutions over time. And if they stop doing that, switch vendors,
yeah.
right? You're paying for their service and
Sure,
innovation, and
sure.
that keeps them fueled and aligned with your goals.
Yeah. Um, can you talk to us about lifetime value of a customer?
I can't. I don't lose customers. Now, in all seriousness, lifetime value of a customer is how long they're going to pay and what that value is. And in most SaaS companies, they're looking like in private equity, venture capital, they're looking for companies that get a return on their money within 12 months. So they want a
Yeah,
minimum 12-month lifetime value on a customer. Six
sure.
months is ideal. In my world, most of my customers are enterprise scale. And quite honestly, we still have our first, second, fifth, 10th, 20th
I
customers.
love that. I love it.
So I can't calculate lifetime value because the lifetime is not over. Yes,
Wow.
we've lost a few customers, mainly through acquisition. They went to another company. And then if
Sure.
you look at our turnkey product, which is way, way faster turnover, I don't know the lifetime value there. It's still a fairly new product, so it's a couple of years at least.
Okay. Um, you know, you talk to people like you that have quote unquote succeeded, that have made it, right? You started in 2002. This is 20 years plus. 20 years of building SaaS, not losing that many clients, adding people, potentially raising prices. I mean, this is like voila, this is like the yes. And I know you've got more growth, but what people don't see, which I really want to talk about, is like the drama, the chaos, the building, the
Yeah.
like I think what did I read about you where you had to learn a lot of this. I read something you like literally taught it to yourself and you're like, wait a minute. You're like,
Look,
wait a minute. I'm not that smart. There's like people way smarter than me that can do this. But I really want to unpack that and like just the building of SaaS, the amount of time it takes to break even, the just tell us, give it all to us. I
I want
mean,
to share
2000,
I want to share with you, Justin, and anybody listening to this, the story I don't often talk about, especially publicly, which is what it took to start my company. So
yeah,
imagine I was 26 years old. I was 20 at 25, I was making 350,000 a year, right? And that was a lot more money than it is
yeah,
today. And I
yeah.
left all that to start this company where I made $1,000 a month income for the first 4 years of this business. Now,
Wow.
my personal rent was between 1,200 and 1,500 a month. So count groceries, insurance, everything else. I'm going in
Yeah.
the hole, right? And that's all we could afford to pay ourselves. And I got no bonuses. I mean, I can show you my IRS stubs, $12,000 a year for 4 years straight. And guess what? In year five, I doubled my income to $2,000 a month.
Wow, you're knocking it out of the park.
It's crazy, right? And I did the hard thing. I raised zero capital. It was my mom and I who started the business. I went into credit card debt. She went into home equity debt. We financed the business that way. And we started with a really simple idea that was turned out to be very dumb, which was we will sell a product for 150 bucks a year. We'll go sign up 1,000 people. That's 150,000 in revenue. We'll
Yeah.
take 50,000 each as income and 50,000 to run the business. In year one, we signed up, count them, 6 paying customers. In year two, I think it went to
That was
70.
two hands, people. They were rich. He used two hands for that.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure you could count the whole number.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of a ridiculous thing. And I got to tell you, one of the things that I think builds an entrepreneur, I feel like I'm in this category is we face risk a little differently. And so, let's say June 1st, I paid my rent. I did not know on June 1st how I'd pay rent on July 1st.
Yeah.
And for 4 years straight, I never was late, not once on a rent payment or any other payment for that matter that was due, because I had a belief that if you need the money, it will be there. And I found ways to make the money be there. Because I came from such a high income and I had built perfect credit, I had all these companies in 2002, 3, 4 saying, here's 0% interest, here's
Yeah.
1% interest for life. And so I'd take out these credit card transfers, et cetera, to pay my way through this. It was excruciatingly hard. And if I had to do it again, I'm not sure I would do it.
Yeah. I mean, how many people do that and don't succeed and then have $100,000 of credit card debt
Yeah,
and then have
no,
to
that's the
declare
truth.
bankruptcy?
That's the truth. And when you are capable of making multi-hundred thousands a year,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
my other saving grace was I always had it in my mind that if I want to quit, I will go get a job paying at least
Yeah.
100,000 a year
Yeah.
and pay off
Sure.
all that debt quickly. But that wasn't the goal. The goal was I like solving this problem and I like the customers that we're working with. And I wanted to build something that had life, that could last a
Yeah.
lifetime. So,
Yeah.
the truth is we've reinvented ourselves no less than 3 times in 20 years and for the better. I mean, I'm really happy for the jail sentences I put myself through to be here because I
Hmm.
like the outcome we have today. But we
Yeah.
probably should have shut the company down 3 or 4 times in its history.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I got to go back to your 26. Were you married then?
No, I didn't get married till I was 40, 39, 40.
Oh, okay. So you didn't, and there were obviously no kids, right? So it's just you.
Yeah, I took the advice I heard from many people. Start your business when you have no responsibilities. So I had no
Yeah.
house, I had a car. That was it. I sold my dream car to have this
Yeah.
business. And look, it's not for a lack of trying. I got engaged several times and it just never worked
Yeah.
out until the third.
So, so, um, you worked at Arthur Anderson, right? You did that
Yep.
for a few years. Did you learn about business models there and learn about businesses and keep that like in your mental vault for quick?
Let
Or
me
what
tell
did
you
you take
what
away?
I'll tell you what Arthur Anderson did for me. And my mentor is the one who kind of set me on this path. Um, my senior year of college, before it started, we sat down with my mentor and he said, Rich, what are you going to do when you graduate? I said, I'm going to start a company. He's like, great. What company are you going to start? I said, I don't know. He's like, oh, hold on. Let's start over here. What are you going to do when you graduate? I said, I want to start a company. He said, but you don't have one. So why don't you go get a job? And if
Mhm.
you have a company started by the time you graduate, don't take the job. So I thought about that. I'm like, you're right. And he taught me some other things, which was, follow the money. Every business runs on money. So if you can learn that, you can learn to run any business. So I was already interested in models because of the financial aspect. I mean, I got my degree in
Yeah.
finance.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to go work somewhere that's going to expose me to different business types and different places. And Arthur Anderson was amazing. I was in the business consulting unit and I
Oh, that's
got put
awesome.
on all these different jobs. And my
Mhm.
very, very first project, I thought I was going to do management consulting, strategy, who you should hire and fire. No, no, no. It was a tech job. And I proved that I was really good at tech, unbeknownst to me. I proved I was really good at tech. And so everybody in the LA office said, Rich, you're the tech guy. We want you on our team because tech people were hard to come by. And so that's what happened. I was one of the founders of the Oracle Enterprise
Wow.
product implementation team at Arthur
Yeah.
Anderson. And so I got exposed to all sorts of things, but I also learned from the customers how to communicate. I mean, how do you communicate with Fortune 500 leaders? That's a really, really important skill. It's not just, I mean, it's how you dress, it's how you show up, it's how you take notes,
Sure.
it's the little things that matter. So I got to learn all of that. But I'll tell you another little story. You might remember Sun Microsystems,
SUNW.
right? So
Yeah.
I was at a project there and I went to interview various people about the project, which I won't bother you with. And this one guy I'm talking to had a drawing on his whiteboard. And I looked at that drawing. I said, look, I'm not really supposed to ask you about this, but can you tell me what that is? And he described it to me. It was a circle with different other circles around it for different departments in the organization. He said, it's a really simple concept. Let's say you're going to onboard a new employee. Security needs to give them their badge. HR needs to give them their finances. Sales needs to train them in their sales role. Well, they all ask for the same information. Give me their name, give me their phone number, et
Yeah.
cetera. He said, so this circle is a publish, subscribe model. What if we could publish the data and those who subscribe to it get it? So think about this, Justin. I had that in my head. I'm like, that's a really interesting way to look at the world. And when I started Quick, I implemented that because what
That's
do?
amazing.
You need forms. You want to subscribe to American Funds and John Hancock and get
Yeah,
them when
yeah.
they're published new updates. So we
It's
built that into
amazing.
our product.
That is so cool. Um, that is amazing. So I want to jump. I like jumping around. One thing I heard, I was like, oh my God, check this out, people. This is a fact. This is insane. I'm like, oh my God. Take a guess how many forms Quick has in its library. Take a guess. All right, you're thinking like, 1,000, like 5,000 people. He has over 40,000 forms. 40,000.
And you know what?
That's insane. But hold on, it's probably 50, right? It's
No,
got to
no,
be
no, it's
50.
40. But if you count the ones that are no longer active, we're close. We're at around 90,000 right now. Yeah. And
That's
some of these forms
amazing.
have been built 25 times too. My team
Yeah.
is building 1,500 to 2,000 forms every single month, just day in, day out. They're
But
like
but but
manufacturing.
but talk to us about that. Because if they're building a form, they've got to be iterating off of something that's already been built, right?
Sometimes, but we get lots of new
Yeah.
forms added to our library.
But there's a system and a process around that form in which they're tacking onto. So the
Sure.
energy in building that form isn't as much as when it was, 4 years ago when you actually created that one.
I would say this. We have invested, at one point, we invested more in our own internal technology than customer facing technology
Yeah,
to make
yeah,
ourselves more streamlined. We're in that
of
process
course.
again, frankly. And over the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to be revamping our internal tools tremendously. We've been working on designs for a year. We're going to be incorporating all sorts of AI to help us do things in
Yeah,
more intuitive ways. But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a big process because here's the other, I think, amazing statistic. And I don't know another company in forms who does it this way. Think about this, Justin. Your name is always your name, right? You don't change it for any reason. So when you fill out a form and everybody asks for your name, why are you entering it over and over and
Yeah,
over again?
yeah.
In order to create that information to flow from document to document, space to space where it's needed, you have to have a common definition. We have now defined over 1.2 million unique fields across the library of forms that we have.
Wow, that's amazing.
My nearest competitor has 175 total fields. So nobody does that. And that's one of the things that makes us very different is that we can actually take all the data you have in Redtail or Wealthbox or Salesforce and
Yeah,
put it on the
yeah,
form, not just,
yeah,
3 fields.
yeah. So, um, oh, I have like, all right, I'll just go with this thing. Um, okay, I've got two questions on what you said. One of them is, okay,
Writing down his
so
notes. He doesn't want to lose his thought, people.
yeah, no,
He's
but
smart that
but
way.
this is a show about money, life, and business, and the average listener is doing, 7 figures in sales or close to that. They're making some profits. They have this challenge about allocating financial resources. And
Uh-huh.
what you talked about in terms of investing in your own business and making things better, that requires money and energy. So, how do you plan, decide, and determine, oh, our business makes X thousand bucks. We're going to invest Y thousand. We think we're going to tie it up for 12 months and we think the ROI is going to come in 2 years. Can you just talk to us about that? Because you're not the only one doing this. Lots of people have to think this through, and they don't have a framework and a thought process to do this.
It's a really big challenge. I mean, if you think about real estate, I'm going to buy this house for X dollars. That's how much I'll risk putting down. It's going to make this much money per month. Therefore, I can calculate ROI. It's not like that in most businesses. And so it's really hard to say we're investing X number of dollars because it's also time and energy as a founder or as an
Mm-hmm.
owner.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also you're constantly calculating risks, like what's going to give me the most bang for my buck, which problem should I solve first for my customers. But I will tell you, I will mention a tool that we use and have been using for the last 4 or 5 years. It's called Real Time CEO. It's a website, realtimeceo.com. It's an
Okay.
Australian company, and they allow us to take our data from whatever accounting system we use, QuickBooks, and poured it into their system. Now, we're on a cash basis company.
Uh-huh.
We take the data on accrual basis and run it through their software. And what they do is they allow us to look at our company on a rolling 12-month cycle
That's
instead of
great.
year end. Now I can see every 12 months.
Yeah.
And there's beautiful graphics that show
Mhm.
trends, that show costs, they show, I actually know how many dollars I make for every dollar I spend on employees. And we then
That's
manage to
awesome.
that. We know what our
Yeah.
ratio should be. And
Great.
there's one other thing we look at, which is what is our cash flow buffer as a
Yeah.
percentage of our business?
Sure.
And so we
Sure.
run a very conservative business. You know, I would love to go out and take on a bunch of debt or other capital and risk the business, but I don't want to put my customers in peril.
Yeah.
They rely upon us. So we therefore run very conservatively and use these types of tools.
So cash flow buffer, it's like free cash flow against sales. Is that
Yeah,
kind of
I
what
mean,
you're
to me,
comparing?
it's sort of like profit, and then the end of the
Yeah.
year, it can add up to be technical profit. But it's
Yeah.
really a matter of, well, I'll just use random numbers. Let's say I have to spend $100,000 a month on my total expense to run the company,
Yeah.
and if I'm only making 100,000 a month in revenue, I have
Yeah.
zero buffer. How comfortable
Hmm.
am I? Right? At
Yeah.
any point,
Yeah.
something
Sure.
could go wrong.
Yeah.
So maybe I want to run a 20% buffer, have an extra 20 grand a month cash flow in
Hmm.
there so
Yeah.
that I can make better decisions.
Yeah. Yeah.
One other decision I'll share with you is that we've realized we need to have 3x buffer for the cost of a new employee. So if a new
Wow.
employee is 10 grand a month, I have to have a cash flow buffer of 30,000 a month.
How did you figure that out? Like how do you even determine what that is?
I think I read it somewhere and maybe heard it at a presentation, but it matched how we were looking at things anyway. And now
Hmm.
we just have a finer number to say it's 3x. And here's why. And again, round numbers. You start with 10
Yeah.
grand a month. You got to put benefits, you got to put
Sure.
infrastructure, other costs.
Yeah.
So let's call it 15 grand a month. The
Yeah.
moment you hire somebody, your $30,000 buffet went to 15.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then let's say you only had a $20,000 buffet and you hire somebody and you spent 15. Now you only have a $5,000 buffet. It's just not
Yeah.
enough. So
Are
3x
you
is a good
talking about
model.
Warren Buffett?
Sorry, buffer. We can talk
Everyone
about Warren
listening, I
Buffett. I
know
like the
I
guy.
see we were talking about Warren Buffett until we got to buffer. But wait, oh, have you read Simple Numbers by Greg Crabtree?
I don't know that book. No, simple
Okay,
numbers.
it's like Greg doesn't know me from Adam, but I've told so many people about this book. He talks about rolling P&Ls, rolling balance sheet. So you can like look and see kind of where you were. It's so good. So I love that you're using that. All right, now I got to go back to my mental note. Here I go. I believe that in business, when we're working with potential clients, whether they're businesses, B2B or B2C, you have to meet the potential client where they're at with the conversation that they're already having in their mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to believe that you're doing that with the iterations of these forms and the investments that you're making in the business. Because your clients, whether they're custodians or firms or fund families or banks or whatever, I don't even, I'm just betting that they're like in some conference room with their suits and white shirts and red ties, twiddling their thumbs, figuring out how are we going to leverage AI? How are we going to leverage ChatGPT? How are we going to make our advisors more productive? How are we going to save money if we're getting squeezed on margins? So, and I got to believe that you're thinking about that in the new products that you're creating
Mm-hmm.
to grow the business. So just talk to us about that.
So first of all, I think a lot less strategic thinking is going into this than you might think because we run a business still.
I don't believe Rich at all, people. He does have a good goatee, but I don't believe that he doesn't do any strategic thinking. And social media, when this gets on social media, play this one because this is a good one.
I just mean as much as you might think. I think customers are focused on problem solving, and ChatGPT and other AIs are the new darling tool. They're amazing, by
Yeah.
the way, to
Yeah.
solve these problems. I challenged my entire team at the beginning of 2023 with two things. Number one, we're going to build a product and release it that's AI driven, which we've done, and we're going to launch January 24. Second, every person on my team needs to find a tool that's AI driven to enhance their job, make it easier, better, faster, higher quality, whatever, because AI is going to enhance how we do business. So learn the tools. It's just like Microsoft Excel
Yeah.
did. Why
Sure.
didn't you learn it?
Yeah.
But yes, we are definitely thinking about how do we put AI into the world and how do we take advantage of what it can do for our customers in the right context. So our new product, by the way, solves a different side of the problem. Most people think about how do I fill out the form and get it signed, right? I mean, especially if you're an advisor, that's what you care about. I got to get the form
Yeah.
signed so I can give it off to somebody else. What happens when it goes to that somebody else?
Yeah.
Honestly, they're typing the data in. And if they're scanning it, they're still typing the corrections and fixing it. So our new product using AI reads the document and gives them 99.9% accurate data with context. So now they can eliminate the human intervention in managing and processing that document. That's the first application of AI that we're putting out there. This year, we're going to revamp our forms tools with AI because there's so many things we could be doing better. You know,
Yeah.
here's a problem that's kind of strange. Nobody probably thinks about. A firm sends us an updated form. What if they send us a form that's meant to be the new account form, but they send us the transfer form instead? My team has to verify that. They have to look at the
Yeah.
document. Why don't we
Yeah.
just use AI to look at the documents and tell
Yeah.
us is it the
Sure.
right one or not?
Yeah. Well, you bring up a big thing about transfer forms because I obviously this is in my industry, it's in my wheelhouse, and I've heard you talk about it. Um, the transition, right? A transition for an advisor or for two firms merging, and how do you demonstrate that that your customer is going to save money when they make a transition to you, or when two firms merge and moving data around? So talk to us a little bit about that.
Transitions is a hard problem. It's a very, very hard problem. One of the main problems is time sensitivity. You may not be allowed to tell your client you're moving until the day you move. You
Yeah.
may not be able to take the data with you, so you have to go get it again. And what
Hmm.
happens on day zero when you move? You have no revenue. And you made a promise to the new firm, you're bringing over revenue. How much of
Hmm.
it you're going to keep? So, I mean, there's a lot of complications with it in terms of just getting access to the data and making it move with you. And then there's just the forms. You're going to a new firm, you're repapering all the accounts that took you 10 years to paper in the first place, but you got to do it in 30 to 90 days. Um,
Been
I would
there,
say
done
this
that.
is, yeah, I would argue that this is not a fun problem to solve. There's a lot of players trying to solve it in various ways. I don't think anybody's perfectly solved it at a price point that everybody will agree upon, at least. Um, yeah, and the best thing that you can do is have the best possible relationships with your clients before you ever
Yeah,
think about transitioning. The ones you have
for sure.
relationships with, they'll
Yeah,
weather the storm with you.
yeah, yeah. All right, I want everyone listening to learn from you about just other stuff because you're a bright guy. My next question is just your team. You know, do you have 5 people in Peru, 4 in Japan, and 10 in Egypt, and 1 in like LA? Like where is your team based? Where is everyone?
Yeah, we went virtual during the pandemic, but we had an office in Los Angeles. And in 2010, we decided let's keep internal to our company the core competencies of our company. And let's find experts who have highly advanced skills in other areas that aren't necessarily the core competency. So we kept customer service, form building, and software design, but not software building, and infrastructure design, but not building, et cetera. So I have a team spread across Latin America that does our software engineering. We have teams across Eastern Europe that help us with our infrastructure. My quote unquote internal team or my W-2 employees are based in Los Angeles and primarily Los Angeles area and Austin,
Yeah.
Texas area where I moved to during the pandemic.
How do you bring everyone together? Are you doing Zooms? Do you do like twice a year get-togethers? How do you make the team feel like it's cohesive?
You know, I'm gonna assume you're asking a harder question than this, which is I was worried when we went virtual that we're going to lose our company culture. And I
Mhm.
talked to my COO about it. I'm like, I have to be willing to water down our culture to make this remote work thing happen. The opposite actually happened, Justin.
Wow.
I think number one, I started this company with a design for my company culture before I even had the product. Because to me, it was about how do I empower my best work and what do I need to thrive in an organization? And I defined these 4 tenets, which I can tell you about if you're interested. The
Sure.
second, when we went virtual, we said, let's communicate more. So we have a rolling, I should say rolling, we have a monthly meeting for strategy. We have a monthly meeting for finance. We have a weekly meeting for all hands to hear what's going on. We call it a stand and deliver, and we follow a software model for agile software. And the stand and deliver meeting is supposed to be short and sweet. What are you working on? What did you work on? What are your blockers? And
Okay.
so 9 of us leaders talk about that every Monday, and we can complete that meeting in 17 minutes with everybody talking, or we can go as long as 30 that we scheduled. But we're
Okay.
averaging 17 to 20 minutes, and we're highly effective. Now, what does that do? It means everybody's being held accountable in a public way. I said I'm going to get this done, and I didn't because I'm going to report on it next week, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And then we use Slack like crazy, and
Okay.
we do meetings like crazy in person. Whenever we can turn on video, we do it.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I want to
Wow,
answer
that's
another
that.
part of your question, which was how do we get together? We have not been able to successfully fly everybody into one location. It's too expensive. But we do once a month, we have a happy hour on Zoom,
Okay.
and it's usually
Okay.
playing games and doing fun things.
Yeah.
I'm actually hoping to release a podcast episode where I interviewed all the people on that call about how we help the customer win from their different perspectives. So I think,
Nice.
and we do pizza days from time to time where we buy everybody
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
I think you have to take special care to over communicate in this environment to make sure that you're still staying cohesive.
Tell us about the four tenets.
So the 4 tenets, and they're not in any specific order because they're equally important to me. So one of them is we must design software that's so easy to use it doesn't require a user guide. Now, that's the basic premise, but
Hold on. Let me just make sure everyone heard that. It's so easy to use. There's no instruction manual. You just click or do something, right?
it should be simple. It should be intuitive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that
I
is
love that.
true not of the end user software, but everything we do. If I design an
Yeah.
internal process for how people get paid, it should be
Yeah.
intuitive and simple.
Yeah.
So that's obviously hard to do, and nobody likes to read user guides. That's another premise there.
Forget it.
Okay, so back that up with the second one. The second one is we must provide outstanding service. Think about this. If you buy software and can't get help when you need it, the software is worthless.
I could go down a rabbit hole with you on this because I mean, like, we literally, Rich, we make decisions. If we can't get good service and the software might be better, we don't buy it.
Yeah.
We just won't. We've turned, I mean, like, we just won't. And my employees have decided this. They're like, sorry, we can't get someone on the phone. I'm not doing tickets where I get an email in 2 days and all that BS. We're not buying it.
There's nothing worse than not getting help when you need it. And it could be stupid, trivial help, and nobody provides it. Yeah, drives me
Yeah.
crazy.
So
But
God bless. All right. Yeah.
here's another aspect to this that I think is important to understand. It's not just our service to our customer, it's service to ourselves.
Sure.
So if let's say my customer success manager takes a call as somebody's angry and she comes to me to help her and I give her attitude, how is
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
going to have the right attitude back with the customer? I have to
Yeah.
support her and service her and make sure she feels empowered so that she can go back and give the customer an answer,
Yeah.
positive or negative, but provide an answer and move forward.
Hmm.
Tenet number 3 is we do what we say we're going to do. To me, that's
Sure.
a matter of integrity. And it could be as simple
Yeah.
as I agreed to be on a call at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be on a call at 2 o'clock, and I'm going to be
Yeah.
responsible to tell you if I can't be there and, whatever has to happen.
This is so simple.
Right?
It's so easy, but so many people don't do it.
I know. I know. And I don't know what it is. Is it fear? Is it shame? Just be accountable to it. I'll
It's
tell you
not
something else.
owning it. It's just, ugh.
Yeah, I find this, especially with younger people, I had to learn this myself, which is if you think you take responsibility by saying you'll do the work, that's only one form of responsibility. To me, real
Yeah.
responsibility is seeing the work get done. I don't care who did
Sure.
it.
Sure.
The
Yeah.
fourth tenet is we love what we do. And that is to say, we got the right people in the bus on the right seat.
Hmm.
We put people into positions of being empowered to do their best work. Justin, what happens if everybody around you does their best work? They're
Forget
happy.
it. Game on.
It's
Yeah,
amazing,
totally.
right?
Okay, so I got to go deeper with you on this, Rich, because I've heard this a lot. How do you get the right people in the right seats? Are you using Colby Strengths Finder? Are you doing front end stuff there? Are you just intuitively, having people like how are you really doing this? How is someone listening? How can they be like, oh, Rich said I should consider this. I'm going to do it.
All right, so I'm going to preface this by saying what I'm going to say most people don't do and they don't believe will actually do what I say it's going to do.
Okay.
If you are clearly defining your company culture and you're living and breathing an example of that culture as a leader, then you get to hire for that culture. And when you hire people for that cultural fit, assuming they have the appropriate skills, maybe not the perfect skills, but the appropriate skills,
Yeah.
and you
Mm-hmm.
hire for that fit, then you reinforce the same culture and therefore the behavior.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so when we look at it, we have a really good job ad that works very well. We talk about the job as being your ideal position in X. Like it's the one you've always wanted in whatever X. And why do we do that? I don't want to just hire a salesperson or a marketing person. I want somebody who thinks that's their ideal role and what they really,
Yeah.
really want to do. So when they're attracted to our ad and they're the right cultural fit and they can demonstrate some ability to do the work, I mean, 9 out of 10 times it works out really,
Yeah.
really well.
So you're going about it a different way with culture. Did you hire people to help you create it, or did you just be like, "Hey, this is what I want to do, and I think this is great," and you just ran with it?
I came up with it. And I came up with it because when I was in college, I was very poor. So I was interviewing to try to make more money every semester. I interviewed
Yeah.
10 to 20 times a semester, every semester. And
Wow.
doing that, I walked into so many different companies. I also did temp agency work. So I'd go work for at a company for a day or a week or a month. And I got to see all these different environments and how people treated
Sure.
each other. I have some terrible experiences that are quite comical from company culture perspective. And what I
Mm.
learned was very, very few of these companies, including Arthur Anderson, by the way, could empower me to do my best work. And so that's when I sat down and said, what
Yeah.
would empower me to do my best work? And it's those
Yeah.
four things.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got to ask, this is also a show about money. If you grew up poor and now you're more successful, have more money, what's your relationship with money like now?
That's a really good question. I often say in private that I've achieved everything I want to achieve with my business except money. And it's not like I'm not doing well. I mean, we're doing great. My kids are happy. We want for nothing.
Sure.
But I've always had bigger ambitions. I've had this kind of concept in my mind of like, if somebody can be king, why can't I? If somebody can be a billionaire, why can't I? And it's not
Yeah.
about a dollar amount. It's just more of my potential. So I
Yeah.
would say my relationship with money is I remind myself all the time that we're doing very well and I don't have to worry about it. But I also have this ambition and this desire to do way better. I want to be exemplary. And again, I think that really translates back to what I think my potential is as a leader, as an innovator, as solving problems. I think it was Steve Ziglar, but I don't know, or Zig Ziglar. I can't remember exactly who said this, and it's one of my
That was
favorite.
Steve's brother, Zig.
Yeah, I knew a Steve Ziglar. That's why I thought that.
Yeah.
Um, I think he's the one that said it, but it might have been somebody else. So forgive me. And it was, if you help enough people get what they want, you can have
Yeah.
anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. We'll put that in the show notes, but I do know that quote. And I believe that.
I
I
do
really
too.
do.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so I've also learned, and I truly believe, reward follows effort, and it follows
Sure.
your activity. So I don't focus on the money as much as I focus on what are the outcomes we're trying to achieve.
Hmm. Amazing. One last question, then we'll wrap up and go to the final peanut gallery conversation. I've heard you talk about learning skills and learning in general, and I love learning, and I believe that it's such an important part of running a company and growing. So, how do you like to learn, and how do you incorporate that into your culture and I guess client experience? And what advice would you have for someone that is continuing to grow and still needs to learn skills?
Wow, there's a lot of things in there, I suppose, but
Yeah.
I think at a base foundation, I have an attitude of wanting to learn and an attitude and belief that I have to be honest with myself. And if I'm honest with myself about what I do well or don't do well, what I know and what I don't know, I think I'm more open to learning and growing as a result. So one of the things that's hard about working with me, I think, is that when I'm diagnosing a problem, I will actually play all sides of the problem. And therefore, you can look at me and say, oh, Rich, you've decided on this side of the problem. No, I haven't. I'm still playing it out and I'm talking through it. And that might take
Hmm.
days, sometimes weeks.
Yeah.
My wife, she set me aside the other day for this. Like, you're so convincing on this one thing. I'm like, yeah, but I'm still thinking about the other side. So I think being
Did she
open to
put you in
learn.
a timeout?
No, no, no.
No. Okay.
She's like, more wine? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
But keep going.
But yeah, I think number one is the right attitude. And I also have a core belief that if the day I stop learning is the day I'm dead. So I'm
Yeah,
always
for
seeking
sure.
ways to learn and grow. Now,
For
how
sure.
I don't like reading books. I like short little things I can read, like articles. I like listening to books. That's engaging to me.
Yeah.
Um, as a company, I try to do master classes, whether I do it or somebody else does it. And I think that's a fun. We're actually going to do a master class on Chat GPT prompts. And I think it's just that I've spent so much time with it and I've paid attention to so many other techniques. I've learned some pretty good skills with it. And I've discovered a lot of people in my team who are using it are not using it to their full advantage. So we'll do a
Yeah.
master class on that.
Meaning
Um,
you'll watch one, or you'll buy one, or you'll go to
no, I'll
actually
give
the
it.
master class. Oh, you'll give it.
I'll give it.
Okay.
And I'm not claiming to be the ultimate expert. I'm just somebody who has a little bit more attention to it than
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
else. And it's
Got
not
it.
going to cost me much more than 30 minutes or an hour, which is further culture building and engaging with my
Yes.
team, right?
And increasing skills for you to learn and then teach,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's
You learn
beautiful.
so much by teaching. So
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
100%.
yes. Yeah. All right. My last question is, I love your energy. Every time I talk to you, I have so
Thank
much
you.
fun. It's amazing. How do you stay so fresh? Like, what do you like? Are you like Zen Yoda? Like, just are you exercising? Are you having all this coffee? Is it wine? What's the deal here?
Yeah.
How do you recharge and stay so revitalized and invigorated?
Well, I would say the exact same thing about you, Justin.
Thank you.
You were the most energetic, funny guest on my podcast, and I always love
Thank you.
talking to you.
Yeah.
For the same reasons, but I'll answer your question. Number one, I don't have caffeine in my diet. I'm allergic to it. So
Okay.
eating an apple is like a energy drink to me.
Sure.
Um, two, I have a healthy diet. I try to sleep. I have three little kids. I mean, my youngest is 2 years old, so that's tons of stress, and they're all boys,
Wow. Wow. What are the ages? What are the ages?
2, 5, and 8 as of this recording. So
Wow.
we are
Wow.
in chaos zone. I mean,
Oh
they just got
God.
home, and I don't know if you're hearing them over my microphone. They're loud.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
have tons of fun. But look, I'm going to boil it back down to something that you mentioned, which is stress and stress management. And I have a couple of core beliefs that drive it. Number one, in my company, if you are stressed out about something, like let's say your job is to manage our finances and you're worried about making payroll,
Yeah.
if you're stressed out about it, I won't be. That's my rule. If somebody is already stressed, what do I get by being stressed about it? I don't. They're worried about it. That's their stress. So that leaves me with what my stress is, which I choose not to be stressed out for the most part. Will tell you, you want to hear a funny story? I don't know how much time we have. Um, in 2010, at the end of 2010, I proposed to my wife, my girlfriend at the time, obviously, and she's from South Africa. So we were flying to South Africa to do this. Well, 2010 was a really amazing year financially. The company grew quite a bit. We had this huge customer, and I called them the week before my trip to say, guess what? We are ready to go into beta testing with you. We built what you want. It's taken us all year. We spent a bunch of time and money, and we're really happy about this. And the response I got was, that's awesome. However, our parent company just shuttered our company. 350 people are losing
God.
their job for Christmas this year. So, Justin, I went into this position of
Oh God.
we're losing 40% of our revenue on January 1st. And I'm
Wow.
about to fly to South Africa for 3 weeks
Yeah.
with the ring in hand to propose to my wife. And here's the thing, I get to South Africa and I'm nervous because I want to propose to my wife. I'm not nervous that I lost the customer. Yeah, it sucks,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. That's a fact of
Yeah.
life. It's a
Yeah.
problem to solve, but I wasn't
Yeah.
nervous about that. And I got to use my stress of asking my wife to marry me, shielding it with, oh, I'm worried about this deal that I just lost. So I got to play it off really well. But honestly, I mean, I just choose what I'm going to be stressed out about. And there's two things that'll stress me out. Lie to me. If you try to deceive me, that's stressful because I have to play games and I
Yeah.
don't like that. Or
Yeah.
two, try to take time away from my family. That's it.
Mm.
Those are the only two things that I choose to be stressed about. You could destroy my favorite car right now and be like, well, that sucked, but guess what? We'll figure it out.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for coming on. We might do a part two to this, which like we didn't like I will have so many more questions about Quick, about the future, about where you want to take the company, but maybe we'll do a part two and we'll see where you take it. Where can everyone go to learn more about you, actually your show, The Customer Always Wins, and Quick?
So you can start at our website, quickforms.com. You can spell it correctly or incorrectly, Q-U-I-K or Q-U-I-C-K, forms.com. Go to the podcast menu and you'll find the podcast there, The Customer Wins, and all the episodes, including Justin's. He was awesome. You should listen to it. And then you can find me on LinkedIn as Quick CEO. That's typically my tag is Quick CEO on Twitter or whatever, but I don't follow Twitter. Just LinkedIn's the best place. But I will tell people I have a simple rule. If you reach out to me, give me a personal note. Don't just try to
Oh,
connect. Send me a personal note so I know what we're about. And
yes.
then I'll offer to meet you. I will do a Zoom or come meet you in person. I love connecting with people. I just don't want salespeople and,
Yeah.
BS.
Yeah. Well, it's been so good to have you. I look forward to having you back on. Thank you for coming, and keep on being you, my man.
You are awesome, Justin. Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
Thanks. Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.